Okay, now let me get the fuck out of here. Welcome to my C806 in Sebring Orange. So despite of all the things that I had said about the car, the things that I don't like about the car, man, I think that this is the proper choice in between the P cars and the Corvette, man. You just cannot beat the value of everything that the Corvette brings, even as a base car. So guys, this is a base model, so basically the lowest tier, a 1LZ, obviously C806. The only real options that the car has is these black wheels. The orange that's an option as well. This is the Sebring Orange, which actually, funny story, before I bought my blue C706, I went to the dealership to actually buy a Sebring Orange C7 ZR1, okay, because at the time I still had my C6 ZR1, and I thought, well, you know, the logical upgrade would be from a ZR1 to another ZR1. Luckily, or unluckily, to be honest with you, I ended up buying the blue car because I thought that, you know, the ZR1 had all the carbon stuff and I was going to track it, and I was afraid that all that stuff was going to get banged up. But anyways, it was the same exact color, man, and I really, really like this color. I think that in this kind of car, man, you know, I would have gotten a gray. I almost got the gray, but ultimately I made the decision that, you know what, this kind of car really needs a color that makes it pop, man. You know what I mean? If you're gonna go with the supercar look, might as well go with a color that matches that look. And in video, I know it looks kind of dark. It doesn't look as bright, but trust me, in person it's much brighter. And it actually has a little bit of a metallic into it. In this kind of lighting, we're not gonna be able to see it. And again, in video, it doesn't look like that. But in person, man, this color, I really, really like this color. Everybody that's seen this color, you know, really, really likes this color, man. I think that, you know, the departure from the blue was almost a little bit scary, to be honest with you. But ultimately, I'm very, very happy with my choice. So guys, this is a base model car. It's a stripper model, okay, just like I like it, because to be honest with you, like, I've seen a lot of issues with the Z07 cars. It seems like the Z07 cars are very, very hyper focused on the specific Z07 package, you know, the Cup 2Rs, you know, the carbon ceramic brakes and stuff like that. And it seems that when guys are deviating from the stock parts, they're having a lot of issues. The cars don't really behave and stuff like that. Also, you know, I didn't want the carbon fiber wheels. I didn't want the carbon fiber, the carbon ceramic brakes. The factory aero, you know, is probably okay, you know what I mean? And I do like the way it looks, but I think eventually I would like to do an actual big wing on this, like I had on the C7, nice splitter and stuff like that. So it just didn't make sense to spend all that money on stuff that I would just, you know, probably eventually gonna end up taking off anyways. And, you know, the big benefit is that this is pretty light, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, this is the only options on this car is it has the black wheels, the orange is an option, okay? And it has like the black badging and stuff like that, okay? Has PDR, so that was important. That was basically the one main option that I did want to have is PDR. On the inside, it just has, you know, this was an option as well, this orange seat belt. But other than that, it's pretty basic, you know what I mean? A standard kind of base model car. You know, it still has the stupid squirrel wheel, you know. And this is a 25, so we still have the stupid, you know, row of buttons. The reason why I went with a 25, guys, is because I got this car for $8,000 off, okay? Right now, the market, man, to buy a leftover Corvette, whether you buy a Stingrays have even better deals. And the higher the spec it seems, the higher the discounts you can get. You know, the option was to order a 26. I could have ordered a 26, and I honestly really thought about ordering a competition yellow 26. But the problem was they couldn't tell me at the time like how much more it was going to be. They knew that there was going to be an increase in MSRP. Well, at least there was speculations that there was going to be an increase in MSRP, and they couldn't tell me how much that was going to be. Okay, so basically it was give me a deposit, and I'll let you know later how much it's going to be. And I didn't like that. And the other thing is that it would have been a full MSRP price. Okay, so there would have been no discounts in that order. So it didn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? Just to get rid of the row of buttons, I guess the updated, there's a little bit of an updated interior. There's another screen and some other things. But honestly, guys, for a car, I'm gonna use this car mostly for track, 80%, I'm guessing, track. So, you know, just for a little bit of an updated interior, it didn't make sense to me to spend more money than this. So guys, I did actually consider the P cars, okay? Even though, you know, at the time that I made the video discussing what I was gonna do, I was honestly already 99% sure that I was gonna end up buying this, okay? But I did go and I drove a GT4, and honestly, it was so disappointing, man. That car felt so anemic. I just couldn't see myself being happy long term with that as far as power. And it also didn't ride very well, which, you know, it's a sports car, I get it, it's not supposed to ride well. But if you ever driven in a Corvette, man, the Corvettes are a true Jekyll and Hyde with the magnetic ride control, with the magnetic dampers, okay? You know, you put the car on tour, man, and it's nice and not super soft, okay? But still it feels like a sports car, but it doesn't beat you up, okay? Whereas with the Porsche, it felt really stiff on the street. Again, almost gutless down low. I wasn't able to drive a GT3, okay, but I've driven my friend's 991.1 GT3, and yeah, man, very compelling. But guys, honestly, like, I just did not want to buy a 10-year-old car, you know, GT3 10-year-old car for more money than this, you know what I mean? So it just didn't make sense, man. So, you know, so far, I'll be honest with you, I'm extremely happy with my decision. I do not regret my decision at all. And honestly, this is 90% of why I decided on a Z06. This LT6 engine, man, I am just so enamored with this engine. I think it's just freaking amazing. I'm just so happy that GM went back to an NA. I love my C7 Z06 and the power that it made. Amazing power, okay? Torque everywhere, super easy to light up the tires, you know, but that was also the problem, and obviously we had a lot of heating issues. This car is honestly flipped that all upside down. Yes, it doesn't have as much torque down low, but honestly, it feels just as fast, if not a little bit faster. It's a little bit more exciting in the sense that the power just builds and builds and builds. And it seems like if the red line didn't stop at the crazy, you know, 8700 or whatever it is, that it would just keep on going, man, you know. And I love that, because coming from like high revving 2-cylinder engines and stuff like that, even though they were turbocharged, if you guys watch my my old, like, you know, videos from the Evo X, man, I revved that thing to 9,000 RPM, you know what I mean? And that was just so exciting. And this brings back a lot of that. Obviously, this is not turbocharged. And I'm not comparing this to an Evo, don't get me wrong. This is, you know, light years ahead of that. I'm just saying that I love high revving engines, you know what I mean? So they got rid of the cooling issues, okay? This car runs extremely cool. Obviously, I haven't had it on the track, but so far on the street, it's like freaky how cool this thing runs, you know? Honestly, it's kind of difficult to even get the oil to what you would consider temperature. But man, you know, 5.5 liters, high revving, giant intake manifold, all these crazy valves, you know, 4-to-1 headers, you know, titanium valves, titanium rods. I mean, all kinds of crazy specs. 6-stage actual dry sump. I mean, this is like, you know, a tuner's wet dream, man. You know, chef's kiss. Mwah. And obviously, you know, with that beautiful engine comes, you know, the sounds of a super high revving flat plane crank V8, you know what I mean? It's just, man, to me, again, this is so much of a supercar experience. I am not a rich guy. I've never had a quote unquote supercar, never had a Ferrari, never had anything like that. But the fact that you're just driving this and you have all these sounds and flat plane exhaust sounds and all this cacophony of stuff happening behind you, man, makes this, to me, it feels like an exotic. To me, this is, you know, again, this is for a kid that came here with nothing. To me, this is really an exotic type of experience, you know what I mean, that I've never had, and I never honestly thought that I was going to be able to experience. I never thought that I would experience this kind of engine, you know, something that you find, you know, yeah, in an exotic, you know, Ferrari and the like, you know what I mean, and that type of exhaust note, you know. So that to me is extremely exciting, and the main reason why I was able to kind of overlook the things I don't like about the car. So as far as plans for the car, really not much to begin with, man. The main thing is I do want to put a seat, because this is a base car, okay? I don't even have the things for the harness and stuff like that here. So I do want to put a seat. I think I'm gonna do a Sparco, either a QRT a QRTR performance or a QR or an Evo performance. Okay, so the one that has the leather Alcantara, similar to what I already had in the C7. Okay, that matched the interior. I think that'll be, it'll look the par, but also, definitely need a seat, man. This is not, when I drove Rafi's car, they had the same type of seat. It was very difficult, you know what I mean? And I think that having the seat and the harness, I'm gonna put a harness bar, I think that is actually gonna help me feel more connected to the car. I'm guessing that that's gonna make me more, that I'll be able to feel more of what the chassis is doing and stuff like that. Okay, so that would be plan number one. Would be, call it driver safety, comfortability, and adding more connection to the vehicle to drive on track. And then beyond that, we're gonna do fluid. So we're gonna do brake fluid. We're gonna do some pads. I may actually go to the track the first time, or maybe 2 times. We'll see how long they last on the stock pads. On my C7, I did like the stock pads. They just wear out really, really quickly. But then, they just kind of set on the shelf for the rest of the time. So I may just burn these up and see how they go with these. I may also do the first track day, or at least the first few sessions, on the stock tires, okay? The traction on this car is amazing, man. Coming from the C7, where you couldn't even breathe on the throttle in first or second gear, this thing puts the power down so well. That I'm very, very compelled to try this. I also know that because these are run flats, okay, and the car is, designed around the size and stuff like that, that this car, guys, feels more connected. It feels a little sharper. It feels a little stiffer, okay, than Rafi's car. And I think it's because Rafi didn't have stock tires and had actually bigger than stock tires. So maybe that was adding to some of that squishness that I was feeling, some of that boatiness that I was feeling on track on that car. So I am curious to try this on the stock tires first and see how the car reacts and how it moves and stuff like that. But I am gonna get a set of 19s front and back, with probably some 200 thread wear or something like that. I wanna start with something mild, because I am not, that confident with mid-engine layout and weight transfer and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to go, straight to like a, really, really sticky compound that is not gonna allow me to really feel what the car is doing. So I'd rather go with something that is more of a, a better tire, but not like the top of the cream. I don't want to go straight to, let's say the Supercar 3R. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm gonna try to start with a 200 thread wear, maybe call it a Nankang CRS or something like that, and just just kind of do the same thing that I did with my C7, which is, I just kind of grew into the car. You know what I mean? As I became more and more comfortable, I just started pushing a little bit more at a time. I didn't just go out right out of the gate and just try to send it and try to beat my PBs and all that kind of stuff. I just slowly build up to it. Okay, and I think that that's going to be key with this. And that's, another thing that I really wanted about this. I really want to learn the mid-engine, the mid-engine layout, the weight transfer, the trail braking, and all that nuance about having all that weight behind you. All right, so I already did the tint on the front 2 windows. Okay, I didn't do the windshield. I was afraid. I've seen some people after the fact that have done the windshield, but I was afraid that if you did the windshield that you would have problems with the heads-up display. This car does have the heads-up display. I think all Z06s come with the heads-up display. But anyway, so yeah, so on the exterior we did that, okay, and then to tie it all in, I think eventually we're gonna do the wing, okay. But for now, what I want to do is I want to replace this orange front lip, okay, with a black one, maybe the one that's a little bit extended, kind of like the Z07 style without the dive planes. Eventually, I would like to do an actual splitter, so I don't want to spend a lot of money on that, and I don't want to cut the bumper to add the dive planes and all that kind of stuff. I would rather have like an actual splitter. I don't think right now anybody has come up with that. With an actual splitter. So eventually it will be a splitter and big wing. For now, we're just gonna be a black lip to kind of tie it all in. I'm also considering powder coating these wheels silver, just to kind of break it up. It's just too like pumpkin kind of look. It wasn't really the look that I was going for. Again, that just because this was a leftover car, so this is the way it was spec'd out. This is like the new style of the OEM wheel. They say forged, but I don't think they're actually forged. They're probably like rotary forged, which means it's like a cast and they spin it and whatever. So anyways, so yeah, but for the look, I think that you know, I do like the way the car looks right now. It just needs a little bit of that black, okay? And possibly something with the wheels, you know what I mean? To kind of make it pop a little bit more. All right, guys, well, I wanted to do a quick introductory video, guys, show you guys the new car. I am very, very excited. I can't wait to get this thing out on track. Right now, it's like a bazillion degrees out here in Florida. So, and then I'm still collecting some of the parts that I want to do. I do want to have the seat and the harness stuff before I take it on track. So, you know, it's going to be probably a month or two. I'm also super busy at work, so, you know, it is what it is. But I am going to be bringing you guys some more content on the car. I didn't buy this car, obviously, just for YouTube. But, you know, I'm going to be bringing you guys the perspective of somebody that had a C706 long-term, okay, and then also tracked it heavily, okay? That's going to be the purpose of this car. The purpose of this car is to keep it long-term and also heavily track it. Obviously, there's going to be differences as far as, you know, street livability and maintenance and, you know, costs and stuff like that. So I'll be bringing you guys along that whole journey. All right, guys, well, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.